Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to Gamers for Hope. This is Gamers Against Suicide 2025. We are raising money for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. As I said last time, or in the last run, there is many websites you can find, but the best one is, in my opinion, is find a helpline where you can search at your country and it will find the nearest suicide prevention helpline to you. Before we get into the next run, really quickly, I want to say that we are obviously, we have one more incentive to go to still for Final Fantasy VI, and that is we are $139 away from that. So for the Saving Sid incentive, so you guys want to see that, definitely get those donations in. But I think that's all from me. So I feel like let's pass it on to Lotus RT with Paper Mario Darkstar Edition. Take it away, Lotus.
Hello, everyone. Name is Lotus, and I am running Paper Mario Darkstar Edition, and this is a ROM hack of Paper Mario. And this is a ROM hack that was developed by Shadeblade in 2021 or 2022, so it's about 3 years old. And this hack adds a lot of extra new content, new badges, a whole new 9th chapter, and, as is relevant for this run, the Pit of 100 Trials. So, before we begin, I do need to explain some of the badges I'm going to be using because there are a lot of new ones. So, first I'm going to explain the vanilla badges just to make sure it's clear. Multi-bounce is still in the game. You bounce on each enemy once. Truth Stomp lets you jump on an enemy a single time, but it pierces invisibility and is stronger against buff targets. The max buff you can get for Truth Stomp is +6. Mega Smash hammers an enemy once with huge attack power. The damage is the hammer's base +8. I'm running all 3 Quakes, and this is going to happen over the course of the run, just to be clear. All 3 Quakes, which damage all enemies on the ground and ceiling, and they also pierce defense. I'm going to be running Hammer Throw, which hits one enemy with the hammer regardless of location. It's got an innate +1 damage, and also has an additional +1 against aerial enemies. I've got Thunder Throw, which is a new badge. This hits an enemy with a hammer regardless of location, but also summons a Thunderbolt. The Thunderbolt deals a fixed 4 damage, and also it deals +1 damage against aerial enemies. The Thunderbolt can also paralyze, but we're not going to see that effect. And then there's Dual Smash, which hammers one enemy twice, and its base damage values are 4 and 7. Finally, we're going to go through the passive badges. This one is a lot more relevant, because we're going to be running with a high-risk, high-reward build. But while I do say high risk, it's not as high risk as you might expect. So I'm going to be running Power Plus, which increases Mario's attack by 1. PFD down, which increases his attack by 1, but also decreases his defense by 1. A new badge is Last Chance, and this is the badge that means that this is not as risky as you might think, because Last Chance enables us to survive a lethal hit once per battle. Mega Saver reduces move costs by 3 flower points if Mario is in peril, which is 1 HP. Mega Rush, which increases Mario's attack by 4 if he's in peril. Perfect Rush, which increases Mario's attack by 2 if he has full HP. Perfect Saver, which reduces move costs by 1 flower point if Mario has full HP. Head Start, which gives Mario's 2 actions instead of 1, but only on the first turn. And then finally, there's Ice Power, which increases Mario's attack by 2 if attacking a fiery enemy. And it also prevents direct contact with fiery enemies from hurting. So that is all the badges. And with that out of the way, I believe I'm ready to begin. So timer countdown is in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin. So the aim to get through the Pit of 100 Trials as quickly as possible is get through every fight as fast as you can. So if it's one turn, then do it. Now if you can KO multiple enemies in a single turn, that's better, so this is why we're going to be using Quakes. And We're going to be using Power Quake a lot, but we do need regular Quake Hammer for a floor later on. Enemies can drop random flowers, which we do want to see. Now, the reason we start with Parakarry is because we need Air Raid early on. This hits all enemies for 6. So basically, with our move costs reduced by 4, a lot of moves are only costing 1. Power Quake normally costs 5, but with our badges, it's reduced to 1. Now we want to avoid any item drops if we can help it. So again, we're just going to keep using Power Quake. Now for floor 6, so this is an item. We want to avoid that. Now you did see that I had Bomb Fruits, which is a new item. We'll see those a bit later. For this one, we need a Burst Strike, because the regular Koopa has 6 HP, but Paratroopas have only 5. The number you're seeing above their HP, the blue number, is their defense. So that's something to keep in mind, but not when using Quakes. So for floor 7 through 9, it's just Quake them into oblivion. Now there are some affinities that enemies have, but I really don't have the time to explain any of them because of how fast-paced this is. But we are coming up on 410, which is the first pit boss, and this is Blue Ninja Koopa. But with our huge attack value, we KO this before it gets a turn. And there we go. So that's one pit boss down. Now there are some items we want to get here. We want just the POW block, and that's going to become relevant when we're in the 20s. But once again, we're going to continue power quaking. Monty Moles, as you saw, they took 11. They have a Quake weakness. And that is new to Dark Star Edition. So for the next one, this has an aerial enemy, so we are going to air raid. Now you're probably noticing that my max HP is 1. That's not something you can do in the base game, but you can do in Dark Star Edition. And that's the reason why we can have both Mega Rush and Perfect Rush at the same time. So once again, we air raid. And that's 413. For floor 14, it's just 2 bandits, so just quake them. For 15, it's another bandit floor, but this one has a dry bubble, which is aerial. So once again, it necessitates air raid. And then for 16, we are once again going to air raid because again, there's a dry bubble. So you want to try to minimize partner swaps where possible. But here we do need to partner swap. We need Bombette for floor 17 because this floor has Dull Bones, which if you use an explosion, Power Bomb is better. you'll take them out for good. Now, we don't care about the dry fruit. I'm getting rid of the items because I don't want to have those later. I can switch back to Paracarry right now because I'm not going to need the partner for the next 5 floors. The next 5 floors are literally just spam quakes. Nice 2 flower drops there. And now we have come to the second pit boss, the Dark Bones. This thing has 8 defense and is immune to fire and explosions, but with 2 quakes, we just KO it. Now here we want to use the honey syrup because that's just free flower point restoration. And we do want to pick up the fire flower as well. And again, that'll be relevant later. So this floor, once again, we just quake. And then the same is true for the next floor too. So basically, if all enemies are grounded, you want to just quake. Or if they're on the ceiling. Quakes are the best AoE that Mario can use because of their defense piercing capability. So, that's the reason to use it. Now, for this floor, because everything has 6 or less HP, and there's aerials, we want to use Air Raid. You could multi-bounce here as well, but you'd have to KO the Piranha Plant first. So next floor, this has our first item usage. And that's because the max HP here is 8. So we bomb through. Bomb fruits deal 8 damage to all enemies and Mario, but we take no damage because of the fact that we have last chance. Now for booze, we have to be peculiar there. We need to first strike. And then after that, we can truth stomp. And then you can do any follow-up attack, but I'm just going to do a regular jump. So for 26, it's just a quake. Now for 27, I'm actually going to use the fire flower that I got by accident, because I'm not going to have it later. I'm not going to need it. So that was the random one that we got. And the enemies that didn't get hit, we don't care. Because we're going to power block. And then Air Raid has enough damage to KO from there. So for floor 28, we do make a partner swap. We switch to Cooper because we need to first strike the Shell Toss. Now Cooper's Shell Toss, when he's upgraded, actually gets you a -1 defense against the target hit, but Clubbers have 0 defense, so. For the next one, we have to be peculiar again, because we need to first strike with the hammer. And then afterwards, Power Quake. So our third pit boss is the Atomic Boo. And this thing has 40 HP, but with our giant attack stat, we have a 2-hit KO. So there's that. And now we don't need any items from that floor. You have a Super Shroom and a Dizzy Dial there, but we don't need it. But here, you want to use multi-bounce. And 32 is the same way. But this time we're actually going to try to do all three. So this is literally the Shy Guys floor set. So most have 9 HP. Which means our Quakes still KO. So for 34, we do need to use 2 turns because of the formation. The Spy Guy goes invisible if he survives an attack, so we don't want to deal with that. Then just a single jump on the Fluff Puff. So for 35, we want to watch out for the first strike. And I meant the first strike from the Sky Guy. But after that, we just bomb through. For 36 and 37, it's both just Quake. Nice 2 flower points there. The Pyro Guy, as you can see, he's very fiery. So, Quake him too. 38 is another Sky Guy. So we again need to avoid the first strike. But after that, we bomb through. Now the reason why I've kept Cooper is specifically for floor 39. Because we need to Shell Toss first strike, and then we can bomb through. The Cryo Guys, which are the icy Shy Guys, they're weak to explosions, so that's why we can bomb through them. But we do want to get those flowers. Now Sparkerine is 440. This is an electric enemy that's also aerial, but this is where Hammer Throw comes in. So we have enough damage to 2-hit KO. Now some of the badges that I'm using are from the pit itself. Perfect Rush, for example, is actually obtained in the Pit of 100 Trials. But you can run through the pit as many times as you want in this game, so go nuts. For 41, we do want to use a full charge Power Quake, because this will deal 12. So this floor set can be kind of annoying, but we're going to aerate here. Now you may think I want to bomb fruit here, but I actually want to use a shooting star. The bomb fruit will be more important later. Because I have the extra hit right there. For 43, we once again need a full charge Power Quake, because the highest HP enemy has 11, but most others have 9. For 44, this is where the annoyingness comes in. Because there is an enemy here that has a unique defensive property. And that would be the bat enemies, which are known as Swoopix. The Swoopix, they only have 7 HP, but they can only be KO'd by exact damage. So if you deal more damage than 7, they'll survive. And then afterwards we can do nothing, and then air raid. And there are Swoopix in the next 2 floors as well. So, all the more reason why we need to use it. Convenient thing about Putrid Prawn is they just go right to you. There are other partner attacks that do 7 damage, but I'm using Shell Shot because it is the fastest among those. Just make sure you don't miss if you go with Shell Shot. Alright, so for the next one, we once again have to be kind of peculiar here. Because once again there's another Swoopix. And actually, we don't have to be. We're just switching to Sushi here to make sure that we don't miss. But you could absolutely do. You could just stick with Parakarry. But this is the last of the Swoopix floors. Swoopix also attack twice, so that's another thing you gotta watch out for. Alright, so I actually technically messed this up, but it won't be that bad in the grand scheme of things, because I actually still have enough damage to KO all of them. As long as I do not miss the action command. We actually need Sushi for floor 50, so all the more reason to keep her out. So here's what happens. That's what happens if you get first struck. But fortunately, we still have enough damage, so we're still good. Now the next floor has another spike top, but we're just going to spin dash into it. And this time around, we're only going to KO everything on the ground. Because we can do nothing with Sushi, and Remedy Guy will run away. If Remedy Guy is the last enemy, he'll run away. So. And now we are on the Lava Chi. So this is the reason to use Ice Power. So we can deal 12 times 4. And then any follow-up attack KOs. Now we want to get both items here. We want a Stopwatch and a Thunder Rage. And we can now switch back to Parakarry. We don't need Sushi for a while. Oops, where am I going? So for this one, you could KO with just jumps, or you could Power Quake. So for 52, this features another enemy that has a unique defensive property, and that is the Berserk, which is the Flying Bee. The Berserk only has 4 HP, however, no matter how strong your attacks are, it will always live at least 1 strike. So that's why we need a jump there. That was a nice amount of flower points. Once again, I did want to avoid getting first struck there. We're going to air raid first, And then we can use the Snowman Doll or a Thunder Rage. Either way, it'll work. And then for the next floor, once again, we're going to Air Raid, but this time we're going to Thunder Rage. So, although we don't KO the Crazy Daisy, we KO everything else here. And then any follow-up attack KOs. So for 55, that was a good first strike, but I didn't need it. So you could just multi-bounce. I need Goombario here, I believe. At least if my notes are anything to go by. But I think I might be able to get by without it, yeah. No, I can just use 2 multi-bounces. Goombario's more just as a precaution, in case something goes wrong. So for 57, this features an enemy that's actually technically from post-Chapter 8, and that's the little Sparky. But with Hammer Throw, we just delete it. And then we can multi-bounce. And we do need to go all the way there. And then a nice thing about Skydive, if you get the action command, you get 1 flower point. Now we can switch to Goombario. We do need Goombario this time. So there's Spinies, but also a Berserk. So we Quake the Spinies, jump on the Lakitu, and then Head Bonks on the Berserk. So 59 is an absolute pain, but this is the reason to pick up the stopwatch. Now we actually have other stopwatches too, but this floor is just a pain to deal with. So we're gonna KO the Spinies. Now actually thinking about it, I probably don't actually need to use the stopwatch here anymore. Because what I could do instead is I could multi-bounce after KOing the Spinies. Whoop, yeah, it failed. Alright, but that's okay. And don't care. The fact that we're getting star power back, though, also is a good thing. Because we are going to need a little bit more star power to get through the whole pit. Now, why not just focus? Because focus wastes time. We'll can have enough turns. But that's 459, and now we're on 60. This is the Bedazzle. Now, those that know Dark Star Edition know that this thing can be kind of terrifying in a first run. It has 40 HP, and its attack level is 32. But in this case, because we have Head Start and all the fun badges, then, yeah, we don't care. We can switch to Paracarry now. So for Gulpits, we're going to double Quake here. That's just because they're all grounded. But this next floor is where the Bomb Fruit that we've kept finally comes into play. So this enemy has Frost Puffs, which are aerial. But they also have 14 HP, which means we can just do this. And now finally, the Fire Flower comes into play. We don't need to first strike here, but we do need to multi-bounce first. And then finally, the Fire Flower. The Frost Puffs are very, very weak to fire. So even though Fire Flowers deal 3, they actually take 8 damage because they take +5. For 64, we should have just let the Frost Piranha come to us. We're going to jump on the Frost Puff and then full charge Power Quake. So now that that's done, now we're going to remove the Power Plus. This is temporary. We are going to re-equip it, but we have to unequip it. It's not for this floor. It's for floor 67. This is 65. But we're not changing any breakpoints at this point. So we can safely do this. Whoop. Yeah, so I wanted to get a first strike there. But not getting it is fine as well. Now you don't want to be jumping on Clubbas because they'll prevent jumps from landing because they counterattack. But floor 67 is the real reason for dropping our attack by 1. And that's because of the Swoopulas hanging. Like the Swoopix, they can only be KO'd by exact damage. If we kept the Power Plus, we would overkill, which they would survive. But now that that's done, we can safely re-equip Power Plus. For the first of 2 Duplighost floors, we'll just first Strike Hammer and then Power Quake. We're gonna switch to Bombette, but it's not for 69, it's for 70. Now I'm actually going to use timeout right here. So then I have the star power later. But Duple, as you can see, creates clones of herself. So instead of copying our partners, it copies itself. Now here I actually should have equipped Mega Quake. But because I have Head Start, I'll still have enough damage. It'll just take 1 extra action is all. I didn't explain it, but I'm not charging the Quakes because otherwise it takes longer. But if I'm going to get the KO in 1 hit with the charge, then I want to. That's Duple. And we do want to pick up both items here, a Shooting Star and a Gem and Jelly. Now I'm actually going to use the Gem and Jelly straight away. That'll just get me all my FP back right now. And before I go any further, I can unequip the other Quakes and equip Mega Quake. As you can see, Embers really love to be a pain. But that's okay. So now we can Power Bomb to KO 2. Now, in hindsight, I should multi-bounce here instead. But it won't matter in the end, in the grand scheme of things. So this is what I was trying to do. Get a first strike Power Bomb. Because I have enough to two-hit KO them. Since Bombette deals 7 damage. Now, I could keep Power Quake for this floor, but nah. I'm not doing that. So I need to approach 73 to the side, because otherwise I would get first struck. But after that, I can safely make a Quake. To KO the Bloody Beetles, and then Practitioner Guy. The 70s are basically a Mega Quake Fiesta. So for 74, since the max HP on most enemies here is 14, one Mega Quake KOs them all if it's charged. For 75, once again we just KO all the ground. And then jump on Practitioner Guy. Now why can't those hearts be flowers? So here we actually want to use an uncharged Mega Quake. And that's because of the red bones. If you use an explosion, they get completely disintegrated. They are immune to fire, but explosions will take them out. So for 77, once again, we're just going to Mega Quake. And then just jump on Practitioner Guy. For 78. Now we don't want to deal with the Dark Magikoopas because they've got a whole bunch of spells that they can use. And they also go invisible, so all the more reason to KO them in one hit. Now for 79, this one's kind of a trippy one. So it's a gold Koopa Troll, but Bombshell Build Blasters are in front. But they are vulnerable to getting pierced. And 2 Mega Quakes take them out. And we want to switch to Bow here for floor 80. And this is the only floor we use Dual Smash on. But you're really going to appreciate how the math plays out for this one. So this is Magic Bro, a Hammer Bro that knows some magic. But Curse, which was previously Spook, was changed into a defense lowering move. It drops defense for 2 turns. And then we use 2 Dual Smashes. So we get 11, 14 for 25. And then repeat it for another 25. Dual Smash's values are a fixed 4 and 7, but they do scale up with your badges. Now we do want to switch to Lackluster for the 80s, but we're going to first use a dual jelly so that we get 40 FP. And they also become half jellies. So for 81, all we need to do is just jump on both Dark Pups. So this is a new enemy, of course. There we go. Now actually, I don't need multi-bounce anymore, and I definitely do not want to have regular hammer throw right now, but I do want thunder throw just in case. So for 82, which have steel clefs, we're going to jump on the Dark Puff, Thunder Rage, and Hurricane, which was reworked into a defense piercing move of water element damage. Steel Clefs, by the way, are weak to both electricity and water, and they take +1 damage from both. Steel Clefs, by the way, they keep attacking if you don't block, but they will stop if they proc Last Chance. But we're not going to care about that because we can still KO them. But here's where the other Thunder Rage comes in. Steel Bristles, similarly, they keep attacking. But again, we don't care. Now we want to switch to Watt for 84. This one has Dark Boos, and they always spawn invisible. We got to make sure we KO both of them. And then we Power Shock the Steel Cleft. So that'll stop it for 2 turns. And now we can use Thunder Throw. And then we'll have enough damage to KO with Electro Dash. Now we switch to Bow. So 85 has 3 Dark Boos, and they all spawn invisible. So once again, Truth Stomp comes in clutch. Then we go out of sight. If I remember correctly, the reason to do this is because the Dark Boo inflicts Dizzy if you don't block, and that makes your attacks miss, on top of also proccing Last Chance, which we don't want to deal with. Now we switch back to Lackluster, who is also known as Spike. And we're gonna Hurricane. The Babook gets ignited. And then we Shooting Star to KO. We're going to actually use the half jelly. Even though it's not a completely optimal one, we don't care. We've got plenty. But we do want to switch to Bow. So 87. This has Dark Beetles. And they have unpierceable defense. So they've got 8 defense, but only 6 health. Now we could KO them with Mega Quake, but I want to show you just how fast their attack is. So out of sight. Yeah, they really just zoom across. But like I said, we could just KO with Mega Quake. This is the good part about having +8 attack. You have enough damage to KO. And plus now I have 3 star energy, which is good enough for this floor, which is is finally where we use the rest. Wow, that was terrible. So, in this case, I'm going to use a stopwatch. Because right now, I don't have the damage to KO all of them. So this is actually just an emergency case. If I had gotten 6 hits, then I would have gotten the KO here. But since I didn't, best not to chance it. Oops. But we can change to Paracarry. And then air raid them. So because I actually used that, I'm going to need to use some focuses. And actually, instead, no. Yeah, the reason I need to use this is because I'm going to need 3 timeouts during the 90s. Or for floor 89, we just make it quick. I'm going to need at least 2 star power, since I did mess up 88. And actually, I don't want to use Paracarry for this. I want to use Gimbario. So we are going to stopwatch. Now we are going to jump. It's worth noting that Dark Beetles and the Emperor Beetle here, they have no defense against Quakes, but only if they're already flipped. Oops, I want Mega Bomb here. Because then I can KO. If I don't KO, then Emperor Beetle can get all his HP back, and that would really wall this out, so all the more reason to do it. So for the 90s, we are going to Mega Quake. And we're going to use Focus because we do need to try to get up to 2 star power. So with one more turn, we will have enough. And actually, that means that we will be good to go. So now we don't need the deep focuses anymore. Because 97, 98, and 99 will all require more than 1 turn. But we are going to need Hammer Throw. And I actually don't need Ice Power anymore. So actually what that means is I can equip the 2nd Power Plus. And that'll be helpful for later. But what I need here now is Paracarry. Some fights can spiral out of control in the 90s. So that's why I'm trying to be a little careful here. And I totally missed that. So what that means is if I fail to run away, then I just get KO'd. So I'm gonna have to Mega Quake here. And actually, I did just get KO'd because I don't have Quick Change. So Because here's the thing with the Dark Goombas. Unless I can airlift... Yeah, nope. So what ends up happening here is... the Dark Goombas strike twice. So, unfortunately, I don't have a save state for this. So actually, this is going to be a bust. But 93, what ends up happening is... what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to tornado jump first strike. And then you jump, and then Mega Quake, and you hammer throw. You survive with last chance on the Dark Bubble. So, unfortunately, that means this run ended up being a bust. For 93, you needed to do 2 Mega Quakes with a first strike hammer into Shell Shot to KO all of them on turn 1. 94 is first strike hammer and then 2 hammer throws into Tidal Wave. And you need 7 hits on Tidal Wave. Now I will show the enemies that I can get to, but it will take a little bit of time to do. So I'll actually use a file here. So, although I can't finish the run, I can at least show the enemies that are supposed to appear. So really what I should have done there is I should have used a second stopwatch to stop them. This file has already been completed, and because it's already got 100%, I can get the Rainbow Stone. I have the Rainbow Stone, which enables me to use cheats. But the enemies that we're looking for are in Chapter 9, which is this area. So, this is the Temple of Darkness. This is where the enemies originate. But you have a Dark Goomba right here. So, I'll actually just do a first strike. So, the Dark Bubbles, the reason why I said I could remove Ice Power is because the Dark Bubbles are too hot to jump on with Ice Power. So, you can't jump on them. But what they do is they drain your flower points with their attacks. And don't need a Dark Shroom. So that is the first of those enemies. Most of the remaining enemies are right here. And this is the Dark Clubba. I better make sure I have a Quake. As you can see, they're really fast. But Dark Clubbas take counterattacking to an extreme. So, on top of preventing jumps from working, they'll also prevent frontal strikes from working with counter strikes, as you can see. And they can actually also counterattack in their sleep. So if you put them to sleep, they'll still be able to counterattack. Don't care about the item. But we do want to get up to here, because this is the other enemy. This is the Insaney Daisy. And they have a very tricky timing with their songs. And if they sense you're struggling, which means like low HP, they can sing an alternative melody, which will prevent you from running away and also decreases Mario's attack and defense both by 2. And 94 is one floor that can absolutely spiral out of control. if you're not careful. So another reason why you want to be doing that. But once again, we'll just quake them. We don't care about the item. And then the enemy that was supposed to appear at 97 is this thing. This is the Dark Sentinel. Now, the Dark Sentinel, you see it only has 12 HP and 0 defense. So, what gives? This is the reason why you needed the stopwatches. So, what happens if I jump on him? 1-1. They've got a unique defensive armor that makes it so that all strikes deal 1 damage. Now we could just use the Rainbow Stone to bypass this in this case. But 97, 98, and 99 all have Dark Sentinels, whose attack inflicts Dizzy if you fail to block. And they can also call in allies. And then that leaves the Z-Stars, if you want to call them, or Zatars. And these things are terrifying. It's another case of they don't seem that terrifying because they only have 7 HP. So again, you probably ask, what gives? Well, once again, they have a unique defensive property. And in this case, that defensive property is they are immune to all non-lethal damage. So, I'll show a jump. This is normally supposed to do, I believe, 3, if not 4. But it deals 0 damage in this case, because it's not 7. Now I can use the Rainbow Stone again to bypass it. But the reason those things are terrifying is because their attack is really hard to get the timing of a block on. And more importantly, they can, in the same turn, also increase the attack and defense of itself and all its allies by 2. So if it does that, you have to increase your damage output to 9 to get a KO. You could also use Watt's Megavolt, which does 7 and pierces. But floor 94 specifically has 2 Insanity Daisies and a Zatar. And then I didn't get to show floor 100, but floor 100 is a dark version of Mario and a dark version of the partner. The partner is determined by whoever's out. And in this case, we would have brought out Watt and had +9 attack. The reason to do that is because Watt has the lowest HP of all the dark partners. So what you could do is with +9 attack, you have 2 hammer throws and then air raid. And what that would do is it would get you a KO on both enemies. But you also need to use quick change to switch to paracarry. With +9 attack, hammer throw will deal 17 damage. So you do that twice and air raid for 40 damage, which is Dark Watt's HP. So, unfortunately, I did not get to complete this run, which is very unfortunate. But I did explain all the gimmicks of the enemies that are in the 90s. I just didn't get to show them all because of my own misplay. But it goes to show just how much you have to perform when under pressure, so don't underestimate it. But yeah, that is going to be Paper Mario Dark Star Edition.
Alrighty, thank you. That was... Unfortunately, you couldn't finish it, but that's a very interesting run.
Yeah, and I highly recommend playing Dark Star Edition. Absolutely check it out.
It does. I'm not a huge Mario fan, but it does look very interesting, and I do recommend people should check it out. It does look very cool. But yeah, is there anything else you'd like to say before we switch over? Okay. That is it for me for hosting these today. We're going to switch over in a moment. Just before that, though, we are going to quickly talk about that. If you guys would like to donate, you can find that in the pinned comments, and also you can go to gamersforhope.com/donate, where you can donate to the thing. We are $139 away from the final incentive for Final Fantasy 6. Yeah, but that's been me.